I just got out of the hospital of emotions, that is, and unfortunately, I need to talk about it. The Hospital of Emotions is an interactive art exhibit at an abandoned hospital here in Los Angeles. It's a 45,000 square foot exhibit in the now shuttered St. Vincent Medical Center. It features more than 70 artists over multiple floors. Normally, this is where I'd be putting B-roll if I had actually planned on vlogging this, but originally I wasn't even planning on going because of where the money came from for this exhibit, and because I could have sworn there was going to be a new medical usage for this building, and I was like, why is it actually not being used to treat people and is being used for art? But it's actually because the hospital is in a transitional period. After my mom heard about it, I ultimately decided to go because I wouldn't exist without St. Vincent's Medical Center. My mom used to be a nurse there, and my dad used to be a doctor there, and that is where they met. Thus, I exist. So when my mom heard about this, she was intrigued by the idea, and we were just like, okay, we have to go. So let me now take you through the mixed emotions I had going through the Hospital of Emotions exhibit. When you get there, they give you a whole spiel. You get this bracelet that says Hospital of Emotions, heal your heart, and it's HE lowercase and art uppercase. Everything else is in uppercase except HE, and so they're trying to tell you it's an heart. You gotta put the art in heart. um, the patient is you. Who will you be when you leave? I was the same me, except more skeptical because I just had to sit through too many pieces with AI in it. And I just ultimately have a lot of questions about the curation. Like, if you're going to put up an art piece, an art exhibit in a hospital, um, during Disability Pride Month, no less. I mean, it has been going since May, but July is Disability Pride Month. I just expected to see more out of this exhibit, and specifically not AI, but maybe it's just personal preference. Sorry, back to how this works. You get this piece of paper and you can stamp them as you go through each emotional department. There are multiple departments. There's the resilience department, joy department, gratitude department, sadness, anger, compassion, hope, love, fear, and jealousy. There's usually, if I'm not mistaken, I should remember this. I was literally just there. If I remember correctly, there are multiple emotions on each floor, which, rarely do we ever feel just one thing at once. Sure. However, I did think that some of the juxtapositions were interesting, and I could not for the life of me figure out why you would end with fear and jealousy and begin with resilience and joy. Like, what note are you trying to leave people with? That was just one of multiple questions I had about the whole curation of this. Last thing I'll say on this is I was very amused to see that the only stamp that I missed for some reason was gratitude, because I don't know if I feel grateful that one of the hospitals in my city is being used in this way. Yes, again, it is in a place of transition, but like, I don't know, man, maybe we should speed this up. There are so many people with so many needs, and this building used to serve people, and it just, I think it should again. To be clear, the ticket price is benefiting the Behavioral Center's nonprofit administrative organization, so like it's going to the new life of the hospital. Here's a little bit more information about that transition. And there were artists from Skid Row included. I did like that piece. I'll leave it to the artists who participated and other folks to, kind of decide for yourselves, as to whether or not this is also serving people in a way. Now on to some of the pieces. Again, I didn't take content with the intention of talking about this, but by the end of it, I was like, well, shit, I think I gotta make a video. So here we go. I really did like this piece. It's a full neon bed frame. This is real neon. It's very difficult to work with, and it's much more rare now these days with the advent of new technology. So I thought that was interesting. I really appreciated the ones that were like very, very clearly made by human hands, like this one. So I don't doing my best to include the informational plaques where I can, but I will say the informational plaques were not very informational. They were not traditional in the sense of like the materials were not listed. There was no like year. I guess we're assuming that it was all 2026, but I have to say, looking up some of the artists and their pieces, there were pieces that were absolutely like repurposed for this, which is not a bad thing necessarily. I just want more information about the pieces. I've seen a lot of people talking about this piece, which has like a lot of, greenery surrounding and growing out of the hospital room. My favorite part of this was the books. I've been in a big reading era for myself, so that's why I angled the image this way. I appreciated this one as well. Butterfly is the symbol of lupus, purple butterfly, and that's what I have. I have lupus. But I think that this piece, and like the last one, and so many others, like I get that at a certain point there is like a repetitiveness to placing art inside of a hospital space, but I don't know, just a lot of them felt like the space was quite empty. I thought that more could have been utilized, but perhaps there was some budgetary restraints. I don't really know. Like, did artists get grants to work on these? Like this piece, all of these like kind of pieces of glassware were sitting there empty, and I just felt like the ultimate message that I got out of the space was the complete opposite, because there hadn't been any materials used to make connections. I think I might have the plaque here. This is the informational plaque. This poem was on the plaque, as well as inside of the room. You asked me what happiness is made of. I said I watch should spill. The vessels cannot hold it. Once you spill, you cannot stop. Joy is a chain reaction. One body ignites the next and the next and the next. Call it what it is. Chemistry, you were always the synthesis. And it just says joy is a chain reaction up there on the wall. And I'm like, why did you not fill these glass objects to create the visual of a chain reaction? Like if the synthesis is where the magic happens, why are you leaving all of this stuff empty and delicate? Like, I took away, I felt like, the opposite from this piece ultimately. In each department with each emotion, you had these balloon guys. That's like the department head or something. That's the emotion. It's like Inside Out. I've never actually seen Inside Out. That's my mom. She's wearing a Be Healthy KN95, and I think she looks great. This one was like entirely screens, and all I could think about was the surveillance state.
I don't even know how you actually say it.
I'm personally not thinking about the panopticon. I'm not thinking about that. Not at all. This was giving Evermore, don't at me. And at this one, I really started to turn into a skeptical emoji. I'm a little skeptical as well. Amusingly, this is actually a piece done by one of the people in charge. This is a piece by Yara Sachs. Joy is not a condition, it is a decision. This room holds a moment suspended between fragility and choice. Surrounded by life support, we are reminded how easily we define reality through circumstance. We wait for the right moment, the right outcome, the right version of reality, but joy does not belong to perfect situations. Reality is shaped by the way we choose to see it. It lives in the way we choose to feel, to interpret, experience, even here in a space built around uncertainty. Color insists on breaking through. She says joy is a state of mind. In my opinion, this is a resilience piece. But what do I know? I certainly wasn't quoted in the LA Times about it. The selection process was much less about medium or career stage and more about emotional clarity and the ability to create an experience people can physically feel when they enter a room, curator Yara Sachs wrote in an email. Sachs, whose work is also featured in the exhibit, has staged similar experimental art exhibits in Israel through her company, House of Burning Dreams. Certainly a lot to unpack here, but I guess it totally checks out to me that because the curator herself lacks emotional clarity insofar as the ability to place her own work among her own ideas about emotions, it does not surprise me that the other selections were what they were. And I say that, knowing some of the artists myself personally, actually, I was surprised to see one name on there. I was like, oh my God, I used to do Rocky Horror with that guy. Funny, small world. Yeah, it did leave me with many questions about emotional clarity of these pieces. This was in the Hope department. Is this giving hope to you? This one was also in the Hope department and was one of the ones that I quite liked. I think that the clear hand detail on this got the message across and was also just like, very obviously human crafted. I appreciate that. I also got a kick out of this piece in the Compassion department. I was like, oh, it's all the hair that I've freaking lost this year. LOL. I think this is like the sweet spot that my eyes go in, because if I get closer, it's just white. Fascinating. After much consideration, I think this was my favorite piece. There are pages from self-help books all over the walls, the windows, strung up over the bed. There are stacks of books all over the place. Even though this piece is technically about mental health, I really relate on both mental and somatic level in terms of, having to become your own doctor and seek out knowledge. And it feels like the walls of your space are covered, if not actually literally covered, with the research that will keep you alive. Like one of the very last pieces was by Mads Christensen, which I totally remember this person's name, and I cannot remember for the life of me from where. I'm not new to installation art. In fact, one of my partners is an installation artist, and I wonder if like my learning about installation art vis-a-vis that projects, this name has come up, but I don't have any pictures of this actual piece because as soon as I fucking looked at it, I was like, that is AI. And I looked up, like I scanned the QR code and went to his friggin' Instagram, and the video was just like, oh, I couldn't have done it without Claude, which I said very loudly in the room to anyone who could hear me. But one piece I did not realize was AI until I read this LA Times article was a longer video piece that was pretty clearly about, veterans. They also even had like veterans resources right next to the door. What I figured were, real testimonies from veterans. I guess they're not real, but AI generated holograms and AI generated voices read AI generated compilations of letters written by veterans. I don't know, man. Wouldn't it be more powerful if you just like fucking read the letters? But somehow the goal was not escapism, even though we are escaping all of the like actual source material by putting artificial intelligence between us and the source material. I don't know. It's not checking out to me. Ultimately though, the coolest part was just going with my mom, because she worked in that hospital. As we were walking around, she was like, oh, that looks the same. Those floors are different. This used to be pediatrics. This used to be the neuro ICU. But also with her commentary, I felt that there was even like more jarring dissonance between what emotion they chose to go where. Like, I'll have to see if I caught myself actually talking about any of that on video that I ended up taking on site. I wish I could remember an example, but like I just felt like if they had taken more care and paid attention to the site more as it was when it was in use, we actually could have gotten so much more out of the experience. Like, I don't think I found my mom's commentary interesting just because she was my mom. Like, it was interesting to understand how this hospital functioned and, like, I don't know, it just provided another layer of emotional depth. Like, they did leave some of the stuff on the walls as it was when the hospital was in motion, but like seeing somebody's like city certification to be in operation is not the same as like, oh, this is what happened and how I spent my time when I was in this place. All that said, there was one absolute homie of an employee who let us walk down a hallway that wasn't otherwise open to visitors so we could get a look at where my mom spent most of her time. I don't know if you were supposed to do that, but we were really appreciative that you did, even though the door that she wanted to go through would not open.
And you make a right. That's where the issue is.
And what did you do over there?
That's where I worked.
Well, yeah, but like, what'd you do like, day to day?
Took care of patients when they come up from heart surgery.
Oh.
Or if they were having a heart attack or
Mm-hmm.
getting them ready for surgery. Heart transplants.
That's where you met Dad.
That's
This tour. Very important. We should see it go a little bit. Let's see.
How much does that have to go with you? Is that
Oh,
okay?
yeah, totally fine.
That's fine.
Thank you for letting us come over.
Yeah.
After this tape, right?
It's right there.
Let's check it out.
How long have you been working here?
I worked here for 10 years.
Wow. It won't make a
Yeah,
that
okay.
one close.
I like it.
Bummer.
Oh, that's what I wanted to say.
Oh, because you worked in this.
I worked in
Oh,
Yeah. What about up here? What was this? Was just waiting area?
That's the waiting room.
Yeah.
nice.
And then the ICU was this side and baby room.
I've never seen any of this, any of these things, because I'm usually in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see it too.
Does it look the same? I know you said they redid the floors, but like, what about the
These
furniture?
are different floors. They didn't have these. But yeah.
No,
Phone used to get up the phone and let it fall into.
Some demolition was happening here.
Yeah. Well, the phone used to be on this wall.
Interesting.
Now it's gone.
Yeah. Well, they put it up over here. For some reason. But
So you had to call in for them to let you in?
they would call and say, can we come in now?
Mm-hmm.
And we'd let them. Or not. Okay, well, thank you for at
Very
least
cool.
letting me get this
Yeah.
far.
Very
That
interesting.
was the PA's room.
Oh yeah? Does this all look about the same?
Oh, yeah. The nuns lived over there.
How many were there?
About maybe 8 or 10 of them.
Cool.
At St. John's, they lived upstairs, but their convent was over here.
Don't let Katy Perry know.
Yeah, she'll try and buy it out from under them.
Thank you so much. Information, I guess I'll just say I'm not worried about developing Stendhal syndrome in this hospital. If you've been to the Hospital of Emotions, I'm very curious, what did you think? If you also worked at St. V's, what do you think? And if you just watched this long ass video, thank you for taking the time.